Why do I have to be in this video? I thought council agreed to keep the trees last year.
So did the 10,000 people who signed the petition calling to keep the trees. And probably some of the councillors too. The council in December last year voted to retain the existing 14 fig trees.
I thought so. Did council resolve anything else at that meeting?
Yes, they voted to implement what they called an alternative risk mitigation, as well as monitoring and tree management strategies. They voted to replace the 4 missing trees. The 4 missing trees were to be replaced as a matter of priority. And a working party established to pursue all of this.
I see. Has the working party been established?
Yes.
Sounds good. Things must be moving along nicely. Have the alternative risk mitigation strategies been implemented?
No.
Have the 4 missing trees been replaced as a matter of priority?
No.
I see. Are the existing trees going to be retained?
Not if things keep going the way they are.
That sounds serious. What do you think should have happened?
A Newcastle Herald editorial last December said it really well. It said the resolution meant maintaining the trees in the best possible health by the best means available. The editorial also recommended incorporating the trees in whatever new precinct plans are developed and harnessing their aesthetic appeal to the city's best advantage.
So what did council think of that?
Well, on their own website, council says healthy, well-developed trees create a shadeway over the footpath to create the sort of place pedestrians find safe, pleasant and inviting. Drivers also appreciate shaded street-side parking. Street trees purify the air and reduce storm water runoff. And the sounds of bird life are a wonderful legacy of tree-lined streets.
So why hasn't council implemented its own decision? What's changed? Have any of the trees fallen over? Has somebody been squashed by a tree?
No.
I heard that the Land and Environment Court said that the trees were unsafe.
No, not at all. The court case had nothing to do with the safety of the trees. It was to determine whether council had followed lawful procedure in reaching their decision. The court would not look at whether the trees were actually dangerous, just whether it was legal to take them out without further ado, if council deemed them to be a traffic hazard.
A traffic hazard? You're joking.
No, I'm not joking. That's the law council was going to use.
Okay. But somebody else told me that the insurance company are causing problems. Is that true?
Not really. The insurers told council that they would provide cover if suitable expert advice were given.
Okay. Did the insurers go any further than that?
Yes. The insurers offered to pay for the further testing. They offered $35,000 to cover scientific testing of the trees.
Well, that should be okay, and good news for the ratepayers. I expect that council jumped at the opportunity to use the insurers' money.
Actually, no. Council management wrote to them and as a result, the insurance company withdrew the offer.
Well, maybe no experts believe the council's assessment and reviews are fundamentally flawed and lack scientific rigor.
Not so. I happen to have these references back in my office. The community asked an internationally respected arborist to do a peer review of the 3 major council reports. He says the first report is a problem because it was based on wrong information from council.
Council wouldn't do that, would they? Wrong information?
The council consultants were told by council that a total of 3 trees in Laman Street failed during the Pasha-Balka storm.
Didn't they? I heard lots of trees fell over during that storm. Weren't some in Laman Street uprooted or something?
No. One of the trees moved only 2 centimeters from the gutter. Another got just a couple of small cracks in the base of the trunk. And another caused some cracking in pavement that had previously been repaired.
So is that what's wrong with the other 2 reports too?
No, they just didn't follow the correct procedure for working out how risky trees are. It's a hard area, and pretty boring to talk about, but they used what's called quantified tree risk assessment and they didn't follow the user manual. They overestimated how often people walk under the trees and they said every tree was the same. Don't start me. One of them said the risk of a tree falling and hurting someone is almost 1 in 20. They cannot be serious. Can they? Apparently a tree rated in this way is a huge tree leaning at a 45-degree angle, next to a bench, occupied by a blind and deaf person. That's what a QTR assessment expert told me. Also, I went along to a meeting of the professional body for engineers, where a leading world expert in the assessment of risk was speaking. He said the council's initial risk assessment lacked scientific rigor, and should not form a basis for council's decision-making. In fact, the engineers stated they'd miscalculated the risk.
Wow. But didn't they use radar or something?
Yes, and they hid that report for 3 months, until we asked a Freedom of Information lawyer to help us get a copy, and even then, it was only a modified copy.
I heard they keep saying the roots are eccentric. Is that a problem?
Something keeps these trees standing. They withstand at least 5 major wind events every year, with wind gusts around 100 kilometers per hour. The community's arborist has relocated tens of thousands of mature trees, and he's found that in sandy soils like in Laman Street, figs often have really deep roots. That may be the explanation here.
I heard councillors say, it's only the vocal minority who want to keep these trees.
A 10,000-strong petition is not a minority council should ignore. The biggest petition ever presented to the New South Wales Parliament only had 1,600 more signatures on it than the petition to save the fig trees in Laman Street.
And I have heard that council has spent over $600,000 so far.
Inflated figures. For a start, they held a $70,000 workshop which was supposed to be about the trees but was really about redevelopment of the whole precinct. Lots of other amounts are sure to be shared with other projects or normal day-to-day costs. They paid big-time lawyers to defend themselves against a community group, the Parks and Playgrounds Movement, in court. Do you know that according to council's figures it will cost $112,000 per tree to remove and replace them? Then $1.4 million to $1.7 million to redevelop the whole area. If they had just done what most people want, which is to look after these trees, which the council itself says have an asset value of $1 million, they would have had money left over to relocate all the electricity cables from the street, and throw a big party under the trees for the 10,000-plus petitioners.
You've convinced me. But what can be done?
We really can keep the public safe and keep these healthy mature trees. There has been so much talk, but council needs to hear and heed views from the community and experts. It only needs a can-do approach from our councillors. Please make sure you call or email them and tell them they need to stand up to the council administration. Their phone numbers and email addresses are on Newcastle City Council's website. You need to do it today, because they will vote on this again tomorrow.